This is my recap for The Ultimate Fighter Episode 2. And like last time, I got notes. So let's get going. First fight was John Palosi versus Leslie, who last name I didn't catch. Good fight. Before it, John said he likes hugs, which was... It was pretty off pace for a fighter, so I guess change of pace is always welcome. And Leslie's English. So anyway, fight goes on. John looks more like a ground and pound guy, and Leslie looks more of a submission artist. First round goes by, and it's John getting his ground and pound shots in on the top, and Leslie going for subs everywhere else. And it was a good first round, but after the first round, you can see that Leslie was injured, and this is the guy they showed in the teaser from last week, who's on the ground, withered in pain, grabbing his shin. And it was his shin that was hurt. Amazingly, though, he does come back for the second round. But sadly, he doesn't have it. He's out of it. I mean, he turtles after a few shots, after a few stand-up exchanges. So Leslie has to go out. John's in the house, which is cool to me. It's fun. He's a fun guy. I'm gonna be rooting for this guy. He's unique, you know. You get so many of these, just these jughead types that are like, roar, and then you got someone like John, who's this genuine, kind of different person. And Nog appreciates it. Nog said, "Yeah, I like hugs too," and it was really cute. But Mur didn't seem that happy with it. All right. Next we had Shane versus Shawn. Yeah, Shane versus Shawn. Shawn, I think, was a wrestler and trying to go for ground and pound, but Shane was just too slick on the ground for him. And Shane reminds me a lot of Brandon Vera, and not just in his talk. He's a little bit cocky, but in his look too. He has a very slender build, but a little bit of love handles on it. It's just almost identical. It's creepy, but very slick guy. Shane just was going for submission after submission until he caught him in a rear naked choke. So, congrats to Shane. He's very polished. Our next fight was I Do versus Efrain. I guess they decided just to match up the two guys with the most unique names, and thus this was born. I was actually rooting for I Do because he's Israeli, which is always a plus in my book. But he lost. He got taken down twice by Efrain, and the last takedown there, Efrain was able to get a rear naked choke on him. So bye I Do. Hello Efrain, very scary brown dude. Next fight was Ryan versus Tom. Now Ryan comes out, and he's got this badass backstory of being the bounty hunter, and he hops, and Frank is all giddy. He's like, "Wow, that guy just jumped 4 feet." And then Tom comes in the octagon, and he's got the most stupid haircut I've ever seen. It's like a star in the back, and in the front, it's like this weird Ace Ventura poof of gel. It just looks stupid. But anyway. Tom explodes on the guy and takes him down, and what is it? They got a rear naked choke, another rear naked choke. So yeah, Tom wins with a stupid haircut. Maybe it's where he gets his powers from. Who knows? But interesting fight. All right, Roelly versus George is shown to us in a clipped format. So they just show us what they want us to see, and it seemed like an interesting fight. I think these are the two tallest fighters, they said in the house, of the lightweights, which is, I guess, pretty impressive. They're calling them beam poles, the fight of the beam poles. They showed one particular clip where George's guillotine choke, and George escaped it thanks to listen to Mir. So, and Mir took a liking to him. George wins the decision. Good fight, I guess. I didn't see much of it, but I mean, George earned a lot of respect there with the coaches because of his willingness to listen, and that's a big advantage you have in the house. And if you're able to use it, they might pick you. So yeah, George winner. Kyle versus Ryan was the next fight. It was clipped down. Big Nog mentioned that he thought Ryan had the eyes of a tiger, which it's always a good sign when Big Nog notices something in you. And Ryan wins by arm triangle. It was interesting. He was talking about how he heard Kyle gargling, so he knew he was going to win. He was in trouble. So he tightened it and got the win. So yay, Ryan. Man, there have been a lot of Ryans and Shanes on this show so far. Shane versus Charles was next. Shane versus Charles was next, and it's another clip show, and they talked about how Charles was talking big, but Shane just brought it. And I think Shane was the black guy just going crazy all over the place, just hitting that guy with everything. Combos, knees, takedowns. It just looked like complete and utter domination, which is pretty awesome. You don't get to see that much, you know. So far the fights have been very close. So cool for Shane to kill a guy almost. Especially a cocky guy. Bonus points there. Last fight to get into the house is Elliot versus Karn. The first round was pretty much Karn was on top most of it, but Elliot was going for submissions and stuff. So I gave that round to Elliot. The second round we got to see some of their stand-up, which both guys' stand-up was pretty ugly. Karn is just kind of like a brawler, I guess, and he doesn't do well when he gets hit. He just it seemed like it was being stunned. But good thing he's fighting a guy like Elliot who just doesn't seem to be able to link any combos together. You know, the guy, it's a good solid jab or something solid, and stuns Karn. No follow-up, nothing. So it's a frustrating fight to watch them stand up. That must not be their thing, because it was just a stalemate of ugliness with, you know, Karn hitting some of his brawler shots, but it seemed like the more precise shots that got in more were from Elliot. But I gave this round, I think, to Elliot. And they had a third round, though, because it was tied, apparently. And the third round, I didn't really pay much attention to it. It seemed like it flew by. But I already thought Elliot should have won. And even Frank thought that Elliot should have started holding up his hand after the decision was coming, after that last round ended. But that didn't happen. Karn won. So it was kind of a bummer for a while. And everyone was kind of, you know, Dana always does his speech, you know, don't leave it up to the judges. And while that's true, that was really bad calls, because while Karn was probably more aggressive, he didn't do as much as Elliot was doing. So I don't know what you're going to do, though. Like Dana says, don't leave it up to the judges. And that's the end of the fights. And they come back with a brief after a commercial break, and they announced that Antoine broke his hand. No! Actually, Anton, he looked like a promising fighter. He won his fight. He looked like a solid guy. Sad to see him go. Hopefully he'll be invited back to the UFC. But anyway, that opens up a slot, and of course, they give that shot to Elliot, who everyone thought won the fight. Well, at least Dana and Frank. So yeah, Elliot's back. Isn't that great? Some overall teasers for this upcoming season. They showed Anderson Silva dancing. Looked pretty entertaining. They showed a little montage of house fights. Dana tells some guy he should have already been out of the house 3 other times. And then kind of go out with some guy screams, "Who wants to eat my shit?" Which really, it makes it look like an exciting season of The Ultimate Fighter 8, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, this is a good episode. I mean, I love the fights. I love the free fights. I'll be tuning in next week, and I hope you are too. So, until then. Oh, and I might as well say, from this episode, I'm rooting for John. I like John, the quirky John Palosi. Who else? I don't know, I didn't really like a lot of the personalities here. George seemed interesting. Maybe I'll root for George. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Tom, maybe I'll get over his hair. Because he seemed like a silly heart. And I just love them silly hearts. Alright. Talk to you later.